Can you hear me now? Oh, there it is. All right. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. This is a town hall for the repurposing of Coronado Village Elementary. As you guys know, we're opening up 2 new campuses, Cibolo Creek Middle and also Selma Elementary. And we, as a district, and the board had voted on moving the students from here to Selma Elementary. And then we looked at how we were going to repurpose Coronado Elementary. And one of the reasons we started with the Growth and Planning Committee was to hear from the community, hear from the district. We started off in the first meeting talking about what are some of the needs in the district. And then we started talking about how we could repurpose Coronado. One of the things that came up in the repurposing of Coronado, other than possibly moving over adult years, special education, some other programs, was our DAEP. If you look at our DAEP, they're really struggling with the area that they're in right now. And then we got feedback from the community that that wasn't something that was truly wanted over in Coronado. So I've talked to the board and I've talked to the administration. The whole concept behind this was to get feedback from the community and to listen to the needs and the wants of the people in Coronado as well as across the district and see how we could best repurpose Coronado Elementary. Based on the feedback that we've received, as an administrative team, we don't feel comfortable making a recommendation to move DAP to Coronado. So that's not something that we're even going to bring to the board at this time. We're still going to look at how we're going to repurpose Coronado, but part of the repurposing will not include our DAP campus. So that's not something that's So tonight, what I want from Mr. Brooks is to just come up and talk about the survey that we put out, some of the other areas that we said we were going to move to, that we needed to find space for throughout the district. I would say this though, a lot of conversation has come up in repurposing Coronado and the needs of the district. We hear the community, and that's why we were doing this, and we appreciate your feedback. We're listening to you. Thank you so much. But I would also ask in our communication as we move forward and in the future that we're careful on what we say and how we say it, because there are people out there that we're talking about and we don't want them to feel less than as well. But I do want you to understand that we heard the needs of the community and of Coronado, and that's not something we're going to move forward with. So Mr. Brooks, if you could go over some of the stuff that came up in the survey, then we can move through real quick.
All right, thank you, Dr. Fields. So just by way of reminder, we did have a couple of departments from the district present. One was the DAEP, which Dr. Fields just spoke about. We also had the special education department come out and do a presentation vying for some space here as far as adult years and some office space for some of the SPED staff. They also went over what they felt would be a benefit to their departments about being out here. Also, the police officer, Chief Ramon, came out and spoke more so about the building over where they are now and where DAP is. So those are some things that we'll have to look at as well. But what Dr. Fields alluded to also is that for Coronado Village, I know some of the people on the survey, and you'll kind of see it, there were some comments made about the possibility of a senior center or something to that effect. And what we want to make sure that the community understands is, although we are, moving Coronado Elementary School over to Selma, the staff, and moving them over to Selma, this building is still a need within the district. So we will still repurpose and do what's best for the district. And so at this time, we won't be entertaining a senior center or something that's going to be used by the community. We still have needs within the district that we'll be using this building for. Now, some of the things when we sent out a survey, and many of you, thank you all for those of you who completed the survey. We had quite a bit of participation, and we will continue to keep that survey up for the remainder of the week. There are QR codes on the tables. If you have not done it, if you want to use your phones to go ahead and complete the survey, you can do that. But some of the things that have come up as suggestions about how to repurpose this building, expand early childhood educational programs, about 178 votes on that. Provide additional student support services, had about 138 respondents for that. Create a workforce development center or career training center, 167. Expand community and adult education programs, 160. Relocate district offices and staff, about 121. And then says relocate programs, about 89. So we've gotten some good feedback. That was question number 3. In your opinion, what priorities should guide the district in repurposing this facility? So this is what we kind of, wanted to hone in on as what the community is saying we should do to repurpose this building. And so again, we're going to be meeting as a cabinet, continuing to have conversations and talk about, what we feel is the best thing to do for the district, for our students, and how to best use this building. I think that was really it by way of suggestions or comments as to what to do with this building. That's what we wanted to share related to repurposing Coronado. So at this time, what I would like to do, as Dr. Fields has already talked about DAP being off the table, if there are any other ideas, any other conversation that the community wants to have regarding repurposing this building, if there's a comment or a question or anything you want to bring to the forefront, we can do so at this time. Yes, sir, Mr. Avery.
I'm assuming the reason for thinking about moving to DAP was for room?
Yes, sir.
Have you thought about maybe moving the police department over here?
That came up as a question. His question was, have we thought about possibility of moving the police department over here? That has been a suggestion made. I don't know that it came out on the survey, but we verbally have heard it from others that it's something that's been talked about, and we'll be looking at that as well. Any other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
I was just looking at the survey, and it's got J care on here, and you're using DAP.
Same thing.
One and the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
There are within J care, DAP is in J care. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions, comments? Really? Nothing? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify that what Dr. Fields had said was that the DAP was off the table at this time. Can you please clarify at this time? Because is that something that will be taken up by the board without public input in
No,
a
ma'am.
future session?
No, ma'am.
Because I think you see the number of people who are opposed to it, and you've heard that. And so are we saying that DAP is completely off the table, period?
That is what Dr. Fields is saying. We will not be bringing DAP as a recommendation to the board, and we would not bring a recommendation to the board without getting community input.
And may we have that in writing, please?
I would say this. We're not going to bring it to the board as a recommendation. I said at this time because I'm realistic. I mean, we're running a business. I don't know what happens a year from now. The financial situation, I can tell you this. we're not going to be making a recommendation to the board to put DAP at Coronado Village. There's no reason to write it down on a piece of paper. It's not going to be a recommendation. That's why we're here tonight to say that. We heard the feedback from the community. That's what we wanted. We had the meetings, you came in, you let us know. Now what we have to do is sit and look at, because I honestly feel like the situation that the DAP is in right now is not conducive to a proper educational environment for students. So we're going to have to find somewhere else for them to go. But that's not something that we have to decide before fall of 2025. What we're trying to do is get the students into Selma and into Cibolo Creek. So we won't you won't hear us saying that we're bringing, you won't hear administration going to the board saying, we make this a recommendation and we would like for you to consider. And I doubt that the board would bring it up if we don't bring it as a recommendation. Now, don't get me wrong, going forward, we need to look at how that move is going to open up other areas in the district that we could possibly look at to make things a little bit more comfortable for our J-Care Academy. But we won't be coming back making a recommendation that comes here. We heard the community. Yes, sir?
Outside of the elementary school application, what's the cost to renovate this structure to be able to put bathrooms in?
To put bathrooms in
In
for...
the school, because they're elementary school bathrooms, everything to upgrade the school. What's the financial cost on that?
First, we have to determine what is going to be the purpose as we move forward. If it turns into office space, we've got a facilities department that will come in and say, hey, Dr. Fields, we've gone through all the restrooms. This is what we're getting as an estimate on what it would cost for those renovations. And then we'll look at getting that done. But I don't want to hazard a guess for what we would have to do in terms of renovation. One of the things that just came up was, could we possibly move the police department over here? When you move a police department, you move a jail, you move a armory, you move things that need to be created in that new facility. I don't want to get into the guessing game of what all that would be until we've made a determination that that's a way that we want to go forward. But right now, we know that whatever we do, it won't consider alternatives. Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to understand what the acronym is, and it's evidently, it's DAV?
No, it's the question was, what is the acronym for DAV?
Well, that's not my question.
What is it?
The question's gonna,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna refer to those children. And the DA. So that's the children that are in the alternative environment.
You're asking, are they children in an alternative school environment?
The acronym, just please let me know what it is, and then I'll ask my question.
Yes, ma'am. There's two acronyms. One is, and what she's asking is, what is the acronym J-Care or DAEP stand for? And DAEP stands for Discipline Alternative Education, Discretionary Alternative Education Placement. J-Care simply stands for Judson Cares. You make a mistake, Judson Cares. We're trying to get you back on track. And what we wanted to do is not make it an alternative discretionary placement, but turn it into a place where you could get a second chance, be rehabilitated, and sent back into the school environment, because your district truly cares about the students that are over here. So those are used interchangeably. We've tried not to say DAEP, we've tried to say J-Care, because truly the people over there care about the students and they care about how they're being reflected. So that's why I was saying earlier, we have to be careful about how we refer to all of our students in the district, because we want all of them to feel like this is a safe place for them to be. Yes, ma'am.
Also, you're going to need to talk louder. You can't really hear up here.
With all due respect, you said earlier that those children are struggling And my question is, and you said not conducive, so I'm wondering what the issue is where they are and why they need to be moved from where they are, just
Understood.
as a,
Yes, ma'am. So the follow-up question was, and I don't believe that I said that they were struggling. I think I said they made a mistake. But if I said they were struggling, I apologize.
You also didn't say those children.
Okay, and I also didn't say those children. Again, I know that we're getting sensitive to how we're characterizing the students within the district. When I say that the area that they're in right now, they used to be in another elementary, not unlike this one, where they were allowed to use the entire campus. That was the old Converse Elementary. That was sold to QT. And then we moved them into a small building next door, which was more for office building space than it was for an academic environment. And they've been over there in that space, but again, it's not structured for a complete academic environment like you would have at an elementary school, middle school, or high school. We need to find a way to get them back into an area more like that, because the classrooms have been decreased and they're very small. We need them in larger classroom sizes. We need them to be in more of an academic environment so they don't feel like they've been put away. This is an alternative placement, but we still care. We're rehabilitating you to put you back at the comprehensive campus. But we don't want to put them in a closet-like structure and then them still have a feeling of they care about what's going on with me right now. Yes, sir.
So, really appreciate you guys bringing this up. So I wanted to ask this follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
As a homeowner with this, because I understand everybody gets really sensitive on words and choices. Everybody wants all of our children, no matter who they are, where they're from, right, to succeed. And we agree with that.
Yes, sir.
So the question, if we're running a business, and we determined that it was cheaper to send these kids to bus them and all alternative to send them to Selma, and obviously that's a brand new school. We don't want a brand new school to be empty because that looks bad too for the district, right? And if you came to me and you said we got a brand new school that's empty, we're all going to look at you and go, why? Why is it empty, right? And the same thing. But in running a business, have you guys done your estimated cost value? For example, looking at net present value with your current expenses for the different places and where we're going to put the kids. In other words, which is most cost effective over the next 10 years based upon your budget cycles. Have we done that with these, and are we going to release that for public view?
I can say that we've put out on the internet our demographics report on what we feel like the numbers are going to be at all of our campuses. The way that we came, let me finish. The way that we came up with the decision to move the students from here is we looked at how many lived in the area and how many were being bused in and how we could better utilize Selma Elementary. But what we're saying now is that we know that we're going to have to repurpose Coronado. Now we look at all of the areas across the district as we move forward. We know that the repurposing of Coronado is not something that has to be done by fall of 2025. But what we did need to do is open up Selma Elementary and the middle school by fall of 2025. So that's the priority right now. As we move forward, we'll better look at, and we'll be, because we've made some other changes throughout the district. We moved J-STEM from Judson Middle to Kitty Hawk. How much room is that going to create at Judson Middle? You see what I'm saying? So once we make all of these moves, we'll have a better way of determining if there's other areas in the district that we can make it a little bit more doable for our JK Academy.
So the majority of your accounting figures then really stem from the population based on government funding?
No, not necessarily government funding.
Everything you guys get is government funding.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't want to turn this into something it's not. What we're going to look at as we move forward is all of the changes that we're making. And then once we make those changes that we have to make, then we can take a comprehensive look at where space is available, and then we can make decisions based on that. But to your point, yes, how much funding is going to come to the district is always going to be an issue for public school district.
And what about our expenses? So we gotta look at our funding, but are we looking at the overall expenses?
Definitely, we look at that every year when we do our budget cycle.
And then put it out there, I think maybe it can be a good cause for future that we bring it out and you lay out some of this in some public meetings to actually kind of go through the different layouts of the budget cycles. Here's what it's gonna cost to moving this based on our normal operating costs. That can be maybe a good win for you guys, and it shows all of us how you're looking at it. Not just we're gonna move people around to try and balance things. We're actually being efficient.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. And I would tell you that we've been working on our budget cycle since November. And we have those meetings, they're open meetings, and anybody is free to come and listen to how we plan to spend funds in every department, not just the efficiency use of all of the facilities as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I apologize, I was like 6 minutes late, I was on a work call. Can you give me the rationale one more time of why we decided against daycare? Was it public opinion or cost?
It wasn't public opinion. I mean, it wasn't cost.
Okay.
It was hearing from the community and them saying that this isn't something that they were truly interested in.
Okay.
And the whole reason that we put together our growth and planning and this town hall was to hear from the public.
Okay.
And after hearing from the public, we decided that this isn't, as an administrative team, that this isn't
It's not
something we
something
wanted to, right.
We had a couple of other presentations there with special education and the secured police. Is that still an option?
Definitely. Matter of fact, Mr. Brooks just went through a litany of other things that were recommended, and we did talk about special education and even the police department earlier.
Awesome. That's what I was wondering.
Yes, ma'am.
A few minutes of like, whoa, where did this come from? So, okay. And are we going to have more meetings to try and figure out what's going to happen with this next year, or are we tabling this for next year?
We're not tabling it. We will be having more meetings as we move forward, but I do want everyone to understand that this isn't something that we have to have fully discussed and completed by fall of 2025. Does that make sense? Gotcha. Yes, sir.
So you kind of just are we looking at any kind of timeline as far as submittal of the people and the community's input to this like what we suggest doing, what we are going to do, and then also I think we just to potential fall of 2025. Where does that put us as far as kind of timeline of the switch, and then also decision making on what this will be?
You really tested my old ears, but I'm gonna repeat what I thought I heard. Are we taking community input? Yes, we've got the survey up, and I believe you said it would be open until when? The rest of this week. In addition, our plan is to, and I would tell you this, I'm not confident that we'll make recommendations on what we think some of the repurposing of this area. Let's say that we came back and said, hey, what about moving adult years in special education? That won't be all of what we repurpose Coronado for, but we may make a recommendation to the board and they may tell us to move forward with that earlier than what we do some of the other things that we could do with the campus as well. So it won't be entirely this is what we're going to do with the campus, but we'll start moving people in as we move forward. Make sense? Yes, ma'am.
Question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, if an event, it does come back on the table again, how will us as residents be notified? We're gonna hear through the grapevine, or we're gonna be actually a survey, a flyer, some kind of way of informing us, say, hey, it's back on the table again, we need to know what the public is thinking.
I would tell you that if we were talking about, first of all, we're not going to put it on the table for here because we've made a decision that that's not how we're going to go forward. But to your point, I don't want to be absolute about anything. But if we were to have to revisit it after what we went through this time, we'll probably put a flyer on your door and make sure that we get everybody to come out early and give their feedback. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I love the idea of this FEB campus. I love the adult years. I think that's fabulous. I think that as a vision for the district, I know I mentioned it to you after the last meeting here, that
Yes,
going forward, just the idea of having it for your severe ALE and your severe SPED kids that cannot function in a regular classroom where that's their least restricted environment.
Correct.
It would be fabulous to have like a pre-K through adult years, if that would be something that could expand to at this campus. Northside has something like that, and it's fabulous. And so I feel like you could get a lot of support, not just from the community, but you could apply for grants to help fund things like that. So that could help also in the area where the district is struggling financially, and to try to bring some of that positive funding back into the school or into the district to help something like that. And plus, it would not just benefit JISD students, it could be something that benefits students in all the community around us. Like you could look at East Central, you could look at SCUC, you look at those areas where they would be able to almost have like a magnet program for something like that, like a pre-Clemson Life. And if you're not familiar with Clemson Life, look it up, it's amazing. And I feel like that's just a really good program, and if you could just get some vision for that,
Yes,
you would be benefiting a lot of people. So
Well
anyway.
said. Well said. I don't see a bunch of hands, so we appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you for your feedback. We're good. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I was just making sure nobody else was.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm a parent of a swimmer at Judson High School.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have a facility around the corner, for those of you who may not know, who is in dire need of renovations and an upgrade. And if we're repurposing this building, that means we can also repurpose the backfield back there to upgrade for these 9 swimmers that I know of personally that made it to regionals.
Yes,
who
ma'am.
Did amazing and worked hard. We can also bring in revenue from that, because within our district, we have no laptop for the public. We have no aquatics classes for the public. That's another way, if we're investing in it, we're gonna get a return of investment in that. So not only are our kids gonna benefit, because our district is growing, swim teams may be small this year, but next year they may expand with all the expansion into 1604 and things of that sort. Why would we want to give our money away when we can be earning it? In the sense of, if we build it, they will come.
Yes, ma'am.
So we need to-
Yes, ma'am.
I'm like her, I'm also a mom of a swimmer, which is actually right here.
Yes, ma'am.
He is in his 2nd year of swimming. He actually did make it to regionals last year.
Congratulations.
So I have the same thought. I did look at the Google map of it and seen how property out there pretty much just looks barren. I hate to say it that way, but it would probably very benefit a pool, because I can't tell you how many times we have had the guys swimming over at the aquatics and the heater is not working for them. And Coach Murphy has done desperately to make everything work as much as possible and to give the best he can to his kids. And I feel kind of bad, because my son here, unfortunately, is about 100 pounds sopping wet. And I don't know if you've ever swam in a pool that's 74 degrees, but it's cold. And any swimmers will tell you that when it's cold, their muscles don't want to work for them. So if we can find a way to utilize that back property, that way this facility can be used for anything that you guys decide. Plus also, it would help with parking. I don't know if you've ever been here during a meet.
I have.
Okay, you've seen the parking.
Yes, ma'am.
It is like a mess. I mean, I can't tell you how many of the neighbors, the residents here, they're not happy, because we have had people constantly told, please don't park in front of driveways. But you're starting to run out of room. Where the pool is right now, that could be turned into a gigantic parking lot, and that will alleviate a tremendous amount of issues. And like she had said, this can produce revenue. North side, northeast, and San Antonio. They all charge to go to meet. We don't. I'm not saying that we charge a lot, but it would be a benefit if we could do that. That way, it'll help pay for itself, you know, between now and down the road for all our kids. I mean, I just want to see the best thing that we can do for our kids and down the road.
Yes, ma'am. I would say this in response, and I don't want to belabor, but I will tell you this.
Could you repeat the question?
The question, it wasn't really a question, it was a statement. and they're making a statement on behalf of the students that swim. And the pool that we have that's over here in desperate need of repair and renovation. She stated that it's almost the parking has outgrown the facility. That happened years ago. If you come to a swim meet and it's not just Judson that puts on swim meets at the pool, other people come in and swim there as well. There are cars parked up and down the street, in people or in front of people's driveways and so on. I would tell you that we do need a structure in Judson ISD for the swimmers. Something like that is usually done through a bond. And we would have to come back and address it in that way. A natatorium at its minimum starts at about $24 million. So that's something that we would have to plan for. And it's been on the board, it's been on the bond before and was unsuccessful. But if we were to do that going forward, I would tell you that there is a huge need for us to now, and we've already started talking to Tommy Calvert on maybe partnering in some of the areas that he's developing right now. Over off of 1604, right off of Schaefer, or even the new strip that he has over off of FM 78 where the golf course was. If we could partner with them, then maybe they pay half, we pay half, and we share that with the city. So there are innovative, we've even talked to Northeast Lakeview. If you were to drive up and down Kitty Hawk, there's a huge gym on Northeast Lakeview and a bunch of open space next to the gym. We were thinking that maybe we could partner with them. So we're talking with the president as well. But this is something that we're going to have to think about going forward, because what it costs to build a natatorium isn't something that you can just take out of fund balance. You got to prepare for it. Yes, ma'am.
Just a real quick statement.
Yes, ma'am.
This community has put a lot of trust in all of you. It's because you're sitting on the board and you're standing where you are. This community put a whole lot of trust in you when we approved your bond. And I really appreciate that you're listening to the community. I think as long as everybody continues to communicate, let's keep that trust going both ways here. Let's make sure everyone communicates. And I thank you very much.
And that's not just lip service. We really were listening to everything that you guys said. When you came to the board meeting, when you spoke at the meetings, we were paying attention. So we appreciate the feedback as well. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just curious to get my mind trying to figure out how the board thinks a little bit. Way back when y'all decided to sell the property to QT, why did we do that? That seems like a lot of this stuff is stemmed from selling that property. What was the decision to sell? Purely monetary, or was there? I wasn't paying attention then, I guess.
I would say I don't want to speak as though I was instrumental in the recommendation, because I wasn't at the time. I would tell you that I can only assume that any decision that an administration would make for a district is one that they thought was in the best interest of the district. So if you're asking me why the decision was made or recommended, because the administration at the time felt like it was in the best interest of the district. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Kind of touching on that, was there a plan after it was sold? Like, okay, we're going to move these kids over to this smaller building. Was there ever a plan of what would happen? Because at the time, you didn't know this building was going to be
not at all
empty. So
not at all. At the time, the question was there a plan to do something other than what was sent them, the students being moved over to that office type environment? I'm unaware of if there was a different plan going forward. We have the J-Care staff here. I don't think that were you ever communicated that anything other than that position was going to be available?
No, we were not.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, they were not.
We were not a part of the process.
Understood. They were not a part of the process. So that's why we find ourselves now in a situation where we need to figure something out.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How long
And then
have
you.
these children been, how long have the children been in that building in Congress that's unsuitable?
Yes, ma'am. 3 years?
Too long?
3 years. Too long.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out why on earth then we get rid of one building and put our kids that need more support into, and I'm not saying it's your fault by any stretch, it just seems rather ridiculous that we take these kids that perhaps need some more intervention, but obviously are not receiving the intervention in the schools where they're at, and we shove them in a building that's woefully ill-prepared for what we need. If the building to do for them, it just seems kind of ridiculous. Has there never been an idea to perhaps build a facility that would be suitable for the children so that hopefully we can integrate back into the regular schools?
Her statement was more of a statement than a question. It ended in a question, which was, when it was initially moved over to the office space, was there ever a forward idea of what we're going to do when this is no longer suitable? I can only tell you that we've been communicated that there was not. Why was that not thought about beforehand? Again, I wasn't instrumental in that decision making. I really can't speak to why it happened. And yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a statement. As you can see, our students are not here to advocate or speak, so I'm speaking on behalf of them. I'm a homeowner in Judson ISD. I'm a mom to 4 kids who have been here for 8 years, and I'm on staff with all these lovely people. As you can see, our campus is very small, but we are a family, and our students are part of that family. We have gone on to see our students do great things. They have gone to college, they have joined the military, we attend their choir, we attend their band performances. All of us in this building have made mistakes. None of us can say that we have not done something wrong. And I understand y'all's concerns, but I wanted to advocate for our students because they are not here to be a voice. I also would like to provide a statement. I live in a neighborhood, as I said, that I am a homeowner in Judson ISD. I had left my van door open one night. The next morning, a student came to my door, knocked on the door, and said, "Hey, your door is open. Your belongings are in there." That student was one of our students. Him and his brother did not touch anything in my vehicle when they had the opportunity to take everything in there, to take all my money, to take all my cards. Those students came truthfully knowing that they could have taken everything. So I just wanted to give y'all that statement. We're always also accepting substitutes if you would like to come and join us.
Once again, I just want to say thank you for the feedback. As we move forward, we have to be sensitive to everyone's point of view. I think that this has gone well with the feedback that we've received. I look forward to working with the administration and with the administration and the faculty of the alternative school so we can find some place within the district after we make a lot of moves by fall of 2025 to come up with a better way to service the students over at JK. I just want to say again, thank you guys for coming in. Was there anything else you had to go over? Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Fields and Mr. Brooks, could you kind of give us, say, what's going to go on in March? In other words, do we expect another meeting, like another growth and planning, or where does it go from here?
I would tell you the next one's scheduled for April. We're going to finish out the survey. Then we're going to speak with the staff internally and see how we're going to talk to the special ed department and see what are all of the different things that we can bring over. We talked about adult years, maybe converting a room to like an apartment area so the students can learn how to live in that environment before they go out on their own. We can talk about whether or not we bring a lot of the staff in here as well. To the lady's point earlier, we can bring in some of the more high-need students in this particular environment as well. And then we also talked about maybe bringing the police over and how much that would cost. But there's a bunch of things that we need to look at internally to see how we could best utilize this facility and then how we could possibly open things up across the district to make it easier for JK as well.
So nothing
Yes.
in March, but we just look.
I believe in April. The next meeting will be in April. Yes, sir.
When you balance these all out, do you look at cost besides what happens to the students?
We always look at the cost, yes, sir.
And I think the community would like to know, if we move this here, it costs this much. We move this here, it costs this much. How does it affect the students when you move them from here to there? The community here would like to know that, because that's, when you say you're gonna move something here, all of a sudden we think we're gonna have a bunch of felons over here, or a bunch of bad people. We know that not everybody's there. We're not against, any of that. But that's the impression the community got when we had that first meeting. And you scared us all. And so now, we grouped together to find out what is actually going on. And so if you, next time when you move something, tell us what the cost is gonna be versus the cost of something else. And I think that will go a long ways for settling the community out.
Yes, sir.
For the record, we don't have any felons on our campus, for the record.
Well, in the last.
Let me be clear. I don't want to rehash all the stuff that we went through before. I think we've been pretty clear that the group of students that have made mistakes, we don't typically have felons at our JK. They go to JJAEP, and I think we've discussed that ad nauseam. I will say that we do make decisions based on what's cost effective for the district. But I can't say that every decision we make is the cheapest one. Sometimes we have to look at what's in the best interest of the students. To your point, we can communicate that as much as possible as we can to the community as we make those decisions. Yes, sir. Again, you guys, thank y'all so much for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys, staff, for here. High five.